Welcome to the AI Sailor, bringing AI awareness to every sailor. I'm Chief Ayondona, and I want to start this series with something that might surprise you. The United States military didn't just discover AI. We didn't show up late to the party. In fact, the military has been developing and using artificial intelligence longer than most of the companies that are household names today. So in this first episode, we're going back to the beginning. We're going to walk through how the Department of Defense, and eventually the Navy, got into AI, when the big turning points happened, and why any of this matters to you as a sailor right now. This is Episode 1, How We Got Here. Let's go back to the 1990s. Most people think of the 90s as the decade of dial-up internet, cargo shorts, and the Macarena. But in the Department of Defense, something significant was happening that most of the public didn't notice. The military deployed what is considered the first significant operational AI system, a program called DART. That stands for Dynamic Analysis and Replanning Tool. What did DART do? It optimized military logistics. It helped plan and replan transportation, supply movements, and equipment distribution during complex operations. And it worked. DART saved the DoD thousands of hours of manual planning time. That was the first proof of concept. AI applied to a real military problem, with real results. Now, this wasn't Terminator. This wasn't a robot making decisions. It was an algorithm processing massive amounts of logistical data faster than any human team could, and producing actionable plans. That's AI. Practical, unglamorous, and effective. Now, between DART in the 90s and the major policy shifts we'll talk about next, the DoD was quietly building. The budget tells the story. Between 2011 and 2016, DoD investment in AI, big data, and cloud computing grew from $5.6 billion to $7.4 billion. That's not a guess. That's from the public record. The DoD was laying the infrastructure. Better data systems, faster networks, cloud computing capabilities. All the behind-the-scenes work that makes AI possible at scale. Think of it like a ship's pre-commissioning work. Nobody's writing news stories about it, but it's the foundation that everything else depends on. Now, here's where things shift, and I want you to remember this year, 2017. Before 2017, AI was not a strategic military priority. It was R&D, experiments, budget line items. But it was not a top-level DoD mission. That changed in April 2017. When the Department of Defense stood up what's called the Algorithmic Warfare Cross-Functional Team, better known as Project Maven. Project Maven was the DoD's first major push to integrate big data and machine learning at scale, and to use it in real operational contexts. One of the early applications was using AI to analyze drone footage, processing thousands of hours of video to identify objects of interest faster than human analysts ever could. This was the moment the DoD said, officially and at the command level. AI is not a side project. AI is a war-fighting capability. And I want to point something else out about 2017, because it gives you context for why the whole world started moving on this at the same time. In July of 2017, China released its new generation AI development plan, laying out a national strategy to integrate AI across its economy and national security apparatus. A few months later, Russian President Putin said publicly that whoever leads in AI will rule the world. Geopolitics accelerated everything. This wasn't just a technology choice. It became a national security imperative. The momentum built fast. In 2018, the Department of Defense released its first official artificial intelligence strategy, and alongside it, they stood up the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, the JAIC. This was a big deal. The 2018 AI strategy was the DoD saying formally, on the record, here is our approach to AI across the entire department. It laid the groundwork for centralized infrastructure, integration of new technology, and importantly, AI ethics and safety. And before you roll your eyes at ethics, that's not bureaucracy for its own sake. That's the DoD trying to figure out the rules of the road before autonomous systems are making decisions in combat environments. That matters. Here's something I learned that shifted how I think about all of this. In 2020, the DoD released a data strategy, and they created the Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Office, the CDAO. Now, why does data get its own strategy? Because AI, without clean, well-organized data, is useless. Think of it this way. You give me the best GPS system in the world, but if I'm feeding it wrong map data, I'm still going to drive into a river. The DoD Inspector General in 2020 flagged exactly this problem. Governance weaknesses and data quality issues were limiting how effective early AI programs actually were. The GAO echoed it in 2021 and 2022. The data foundation wasn't there yet. That lesson lands differently when you think about your own work. Every record you update, every transaction you process, every data entry in a Navy system, you're contributing to the data ecosystem that AI will eventually learn from. That's not abstract. That's real accountability. In 2023, the DoD released its current guiding policy, the DoD Data, Analytics, and AI Adoption Strategy. This one builds on everything that came before, and it makes three things front and center: speed, agility, responsibility. Speed, because adversaries aren't waiting. China and Russia are moving. We have to be faster. Agility, because the threat environment changes constantly. AI systems have to adapt. Responsibility, because the DoD made a commitment early that human oversight stays in the loop. No fully autonomous lethal decisions without a human in the chain. That's DoD policy, and it hasn't changed. So where does all of that history land us today? 2025 was the year the military stopped treating AI like a lab experiment and started treating it like a daily tool. That's not my assessment. That's the reporting from the people covering the Pentagon. Across all branches, AI work in 2025 fell into four main lanes: decision support, helping commanders make faster, better-informed calls; predictive maintenance, identifying equipment problems before they become failures; training and workforce, building AI literacy across the force; and intelligence analysis, processing sensor data at a speed no human team can match. And in the Navy specifically, we'll get deep into this in episode 2. There's a program called Project Overmatch that represents the single highest Navy developmental priority after nuclear deterrence. AI is not an add-on to the Navy. AI is the next Navy. Let me bring it back to why this matters to you. The military has been building toward this for 30 years. From DART in the 90s, to Project Maven in 2017, to a formal AI strategy in 2018, to the CDAO, to where we are today. This is not a trend. This is not a buzzword. This is a 30-year institutional commitment that is now arriving at the deck plate level. And here's the thing. Whether you're an E2 in your first ship, an E6 preparing for your chief's board, or a chief running a division, AI is going to be part of your career. It already is. The question is whether you understand it. The sailors who understand it are going to lead. The sailors who don't are going to be behind the curve. That's just the truth. In episode 2, we're going inside the Navy's specific AI programs. Project Overmatch, Task Force 59, Amelia, and what the Navy is actually building right now. You don't want to miss it. I'm PSC Awandona. This is the AI Sailor, bringing AI awareness to every sailor. Stay locked in.